This was a test campaign used in 1947 to market a new product, a tranquilizer called ephemeral. It was aimed at pregnant women, and the drug failed because it had a side effect on the unborn children. It created scanners.
I must remind you that the scanning experience is usually a painful one.
If this guy's a scanner, they don't want him down at Central.
At the age of 22, he was extremely self-destructive. Now, at the age of 35, he is simply destructive.
We're going to do it the scanner way. I'm going to suck your brain dry. Everything you are is going to become me. You're going to be with me, Cameron, no matter what. After all, brothers should be close, don't you think?
Good evening. Welcome to this week's edition of the WayBack Movies Podcast, show where we review the best and not so best of 80s and 90s cinema, because really, fuck the 2000s. My name is Steve, and with me on this crazy journey,
Justin.
Doctor. And we're back on another day. It's a bit of a sad day. At least the day before was.
Yeah.
I figure we have to mention it since we have covered the man in a couple films so far.
We do try our best to not bring the room down.
No,
bring
but
up deaths on the show. But when it's someone who either was personally important to us,
he's also been our MVP twice. Yeah.
This one is a little closer to home because again he was the star of two of our films that we've covered.
And again, the MVP of both, if I remember correctly. So the great actor Max von Sydow passed away yesterday.
Ming the Merciless himself.
Yep. The Brewmeister Smith, if you will. And, of course, he was in The Exorcist and a sundry other films.
A lot of better films.
Yeah.
He was an amazing actor. He just thankfully lowered himself.
These are all... he was kind of one of those great actors that's just like, I'll do anything. Sure, I'll do that. Yeah, what, you want me to be in Conan? Sure, I'll be the king in Conan.
Yeah. Even up to Force Awakens.
Yeah.
He was in the opening scene for The Force Awakens.
He's got apparently... I looked it up. He's got another film in production that will be finished soon-ish, I'm guessing. So he's got one more film coming out. He passed away at 90, so that's a shame.
Well, life well lived,
yes,
thankfully.
Absolutely.
Someone who didn't pass too soon.
Yeah.
He lived his life.
So,
will always be remembered for a litany of different genres and movies.
Definitely. So just a man that's dear to our hearts, just gave us plenty of years of entertainment. So just wanted to throw that out there, just to put it on wax, as they say.
Yep.
Just so that we can honor the man. So, but with that being said, we're going in a completely different direction. Film this week, where we are going back to the Canadian kind of classic. Is it strictly Canadian?
Yep.
It's filmed in Canada, but is it strictly Canadian?
Well, Cronenberg's Canadian.
All right, I guess
it's
that counts.
It's filmed in Canada.
I guess that counts.
The lead actor's Canadian.
Oh no, wait, no, it definitely was because the story I'll get into later on. But we're going to January 14th, 1981 for a film called Scanners. That's pretty much it. Don't really have much else to say. Kind of, room kind of did go down with the Max von Sydow of it all, but had to be said. So with that being said, I guess let's just jump into the WayBack Machine to 1981 for Scanners. Okay, here we are. It's 1981. Neither one of us are born.
Nope.
Don't know shit.
So we didn't see this in theaters.
We're blissfully almost 40 years away from having to hear about the coronavirus every day.
Yep.
Yay! So, like I said, Scanners, January 14th, 1981. Written and directed by David Cronenberg, produced by Claude Héreau. Distributed by Avco Embassy Pictures and Mason International. A box office of $14.2 million against a budget of $3.5 million. The cast, somewhat small. Stephen Lack, is Cameron Vale. Jennifer O'Neill is Kim Orbist. Patrick McGowan is Dr. Paul Ruth. Lawrence Dane is Braden Keller. Michael Ironside is Daryl Revick. Robert Silverman is Benjamin Pierce. Maver Moore, is Curtis Trevelyan. Anthony Sherwood is Aidan. Fred Dordelin, maybe, is Dieter Tautz. And Victor Desi is Dr. Gatineau. Simple enough. Lots of French names there. You can tell it was filmed in Montreal.
And Toronto.
Yes. Production of the film. So basically it starts with William S. Burroughs' 1959 novel Naked Lunch contains a chapter concerning Senders, a hostile organization of telepaths bent on world domination. A clearly literary inspiration for the film. Cronenberg would later direct a film version of Naked Lunch in 1991.
He got 2 rings of that bell.
He kind of did. A very early treatment from 1976 entitled Telepathy 2000 takes place in the future. Begins with the protagonist, who is named Harley Quinn, ironically, telepathically raping a woman in a subway, and was set as a spy movie.
That sentence took a left turn.
Didn't it, though? We were all having fun with the Harley Quinn, and then, ugh. In this version, a company called Cytidine Amalgamate was breeding evil scanners to take over the world, and the U.S. government was employing good scanners to stop them. So that's how we start with that. David Cronenberg once called this the most frustrating film he'd ever made. The film was rushed through production. Filming had to begin without a finished script and end within roughly 2 months, so the financing would qualify as a tax write-off, forcing Cronenberg to write and shoot at the same time. He would spend mornings prior to filming scenes, writing.
It's not the first time that's happened on this show, I don't think.
Not at all, no. Sets also weren't constructed on time, which
Also
made things
not the
very
first.
difficult. Not at all. That low-budget filmmaking at its finest, folks. Cronenberg also cited difficulty with and antagonism between the leads, particularly Patrick McGowan and Jennifer O'Neill. Rumor has it that Cronenberg cast Lack, not a professional actor, but a painter by profession, because he liked the clarity of his blue eyes.
That's a reason to get hired, I suppose.
Yeah.
You can't act, but boy, are those eyes sparkly.
And boy, are you not kidding with can't act. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That man cannot deliver a line by even remotely sounding realistic. Michael Ironside was originally hired for a bit part of 1 or 2 scenes and was paid $5,300 Canadian.
Ooh.
Yeah, that sucks. The film was shot primarily on location in Montreal, Quebec, and Toronto, Ontario. The lecture scene was filmed at Concordia University, and the Charles J. Desbalais water treatment plant doubled as the bicarbon amalgamate compound. The future electronique and I'm not very good at French. Vadrel Dorian provided the exterior of Consec headquarters. The sequence of Rivik hijacking a car and causing another to crash was shot in Rue de la Commune. The metro station was Yorkdale Station, with additional scenes in the Yorkville neighborhood. Yeah, Yorkdale Station still looks like that.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed it immediately. I was like, wow, they're at Yorkdale. I meant to look it up, but I wonder if the shopping center was still there. It's like, how hard do you think it was to film those scenes in that time period? Unless maybe they were filming at like 3 or 4 in the morning. But
It looks like it was late.
might have been, yeah.
Because I'm assuming that's what they do, right? Like
Sometimes, yeah.
Like when it's 3 in the morning and TTC shut down, they'll still run the trains for movies.
Sometimes, yeah, they do that.
Wonder if the driver gets overtime, probably.
Oh, I would assume they just hire one guy to do it, yeah. It's like, oh, yeah, do you want to do it? Okay, cool. Actually, they're probably paid by the production, I would guess. Makeup artist Dick Smith provided prosthetics for the climactic scanner duel and the iconic exploding head effect. In an interview with Film Comment, Stephen Lack recalled feeling under the gun during one of the first scenes on set, saying, "The first day they had me get into an 18-wheel truck with 4 gearshift levers and had me drive into the shot. It was horrifying. I'd never driven such a thing and was pretty disoriented," he explained. "We were set up on a feeder road to the highway, and all the camera crew and staff were there. And some car on the highway slowed down to gawk, and a truck on the highway rammed him from behind. There was a death and sirens, and the whole crew jumped over the storm fence to help out. I was given a slight reprieve of an hour to figure out how to work the gears." Ever the optimist?
Well, someone died, and that sucks, but it gave me an hour to figure out how to drive this fucking thing.
Must be. I mean, you know.
Always look on the bright side of life.
I mean,
Steven.
maybe. I don't know. Production stills exist of shots in the final duel between Cameron and Revik where the top of Cameron's head explodes, sending sparks into the air. Apparently the climax was filmed, but David Cronenberg chose to omit it from the final product.
They just showed the end result.
Mm-hmm. The crash scene in the record store prominently features a float hanging from the ceiling for the RSO, Robert Stigwood Organization, record label, who paid for this placement. By the time the film was released, RSO had gone out of business. Don't you just love that? The drug ephemerol bears an eerie similarity to the real-life scandal in the late 1950s, as women who had taken thalidomide during pregnancy, marketed as relief for morning sickness, began to give birth to children suffering from phocomelia or other physical deformities. So, fun.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about the meme that launched 1000, the head explosion. The scene was the product of trial and error, eventually setting a plaster skull and a gelatin exterior packed with latex scraps, some wax, and just bits and bobs of a lot of stringy stuff that we figured would fly through the air a little better, which was later revealed to be fake blood, rabbit liver, dog food, as well as leftover burgers from lunch.
You finished with that burger?
Yeah, we're going to throw it in the head.
Throw it in the head. Yeah, the fun times.
When other explosive techniques failed to give the desired effect, a special effects supervisor, Gary Zeller, told the crew to roll cameras and get inside the trucks with doors and windows closed, and proceeded to lie down behind the dummy and fire a shotgun at the back of the head.
You might want to close all the doors and windows for this. I want to try something cool.
Fuck it.
It's probably his gun, too. He's just thinking
brought
the
his
day
shotgun to
before.
set.
He's just like, oh, it's going to work. He grabs a watermelon from the store, brings his gun, puts it in the yard, shoots it, goes, it'll work.
That works. The scene was supposed to take place at the very beginning of the film, but Cronenberg moved it for late moviegoers.
Yeah, you don't want to be like, oh, what's this? Bang!
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Exactly. He wanted to make sure people saw it, is what he's getting at.
Yeah, because there's latecomers to movies.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta put that tail end of the first
He
act.
literally said for that, he's like, film is for the audience. I want to make sure everyone gets to see the most impressive shot in the film.
This is true.
Good on him. Stephen Lack kept the faked head of his that exploded. Why not?
Whatever.
I
Souvenirs?
would. I absolutely would.
Souvenirs?
So the legacy of this film. Roger Ebert gave Scanners 2 out of 4 stars and wrote, Scanners is so lockstep that we are basically reduced to watching the special effects, which are good, but curiously abstract, because we don't much care about the people they're happening around. I don't agree with that. Alternately, film professor Charles Derry, in his overview of the horror genre, Dark Dreams, cited Scanners as an especially important masterwork, calling it the Psycho of its day. I don't agree with that either.
You're both wrong.
Gotta find a middle ground, guys.
It's the worst thing ever. Hey, it's the best thing ever. Hey. Let's find a middle ground. Gentlemen.
I don't even consider it a horror film.
It's a body horror film.
Yeah, but I don't know.
But see, what you're considering horror,
Yes,
is going to be considered different than the quote unquote layman, right? Because
True.
it's your.
but
it's where you live. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
So,
But I have a very as most people do. I have a very clear definition of what I would consider horror. I would consider this more of a sci-fi thriller than a horror film, but that might just be me.
But I think, again, with the body horror of it all, it has to be...
I guess so.
It's a subcategory, of course.
I guess.
It's like a sci-fi body horror, but then you get into one of those movies that has, 10 different genres.
Yeah.
So that's why you have to just put a tag on it.
Yeah,
it's sci-fi horror, we got to put a tag on this thing.
Yeah, I have a very clear definition. I always say, as much as
music's haunting.
another film like Alien, for instance, the original. People are always just like, oh, it's a sci-fi this, sci-fi that. I'm like, yes, there is sci-fi elements, but I would hesitate to call that a sci-fi movie. I call that a horror movie with sci-fi elements.
It's a sci-fi movie because it's on a spaceship.
Yeah, but everything else is basically just straight-up monster movie.
Yeah,
so,
it's
I don't
a monster
know.
movie on a spaceship, so technically
Yeah.
it's a sci-fi movie because they're in a spaceship far into the future.
Yeah, but it's really, it's not sci-fi enough to be called a sci-fi movie, in my opinion.
But then at that point, you're arguing semantics.
Exactly. A reassessment of Scanners in the 2012 issue of Cine Action, which was a great sort of fanzine magazine type amalgam. Really liked it. Looks at the film in light of Cronenberg's use of allegory and parables in much of his work. The argument is made that Cronenberg uses iconic imagery that refers directly and indirectly to the 30-somethings as scanners as 1960s political radicals, counterculture hippies, and nascent young urban professionals. As a result, the film can be seen as an oblique reflection on what might happen when the